Start counting.
5, 6, 7.
In 4, damn it! Look at me.
1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3.
Motherfucker! You hit me in the ear!
Bitch.
Hey, bitch.
Gentlemen, you can't fight in here. This is the war room.
I'm not gonna hurt. I'm just gonna bash your brains.
Game over.
It's always funny when I'm doing that because I'm trying to set it up perfectly so it like flows on the replay. You know what I mean? When people watch it like on the next day or whatever, so it like times up where it's just like, oh, the intro, and then it goes in also not be muted, but then sometimes you have a little bit of backlash. So that's always some fun stuff. So
next time I'll just scream like Lee Winnell does at the end. Ah!
Yeah, exactly. It sounds so natural. And that's a fun fact. That's literally my the one I made for the War Room, which that show hasn't even been made yet. Where I want to do a debate show where it's kind of like a around the horn style, or whatever. But that's why all those clips are more of like graphic and violence, because that's what it's meant to be. The War Room. I'm gonna eventually make an actual like roundtable version. I did the There'll Be Trivia one. I did the War Room one. I need to make a more lax roundtable one. So I want to start off by usually, at least so far, this is episode 6. We haven't actually had a chance to talk about anything like movie news relevant, but the Spider-Verse 2 trailer dropped tonight, or like the teaser, and it was pretty cool. And it's so I want to go around the table and I want to ask your general opinions on Into the Spider-Verse, the first one, and then if you'd seen exactly, and then if you'd seen the trailer or teaser, however you want to call it, what were your thoughts? So I'm going to start off by saying I'm a massive fan of the Into the Spider-Verse. It's one of those where the community makes me a little more nervous to be a fan of it as much as I want to, because I'm like, the community overhypes, the concept of the Spider-Verse, where a lot of people have it in like their top 5 all time. Like, yeah, it's great, but like top 5, relax. But also, like, I've seen so many movies where it's like, if in theory I did have it in my top 5, like I would actually be confident. I'm like, oh, it's in my top 5. Like, I'm a Spider-Man fan here. I have Spider-Man in my arm. Spider-Man 2002. When we eventually talk about my top 100, you might see it, and you might see it kind of high. You know what I mean? So it's one of those where it's like, I'm not technically ashamed of it, but it's kind of the community has had me brought back a little bit. So when I was watching that trailer, I was like, I want to say it gave me chills, but it gave me like, I really smiled, like genuinely. It wasn't forced. It was like, oh, this is cool. You know what I mean? And it makes me really want to go now rewatch Spider-Verse before I release my top 100, because I actually might bump it up, and go a little higher. So spoiler, it is my top 100, but we'll see, what ranking. So I'm gonna go start off with Austin. What are your thoughts on Spider-Verse, the first one, and did you actually see the teaser, and what were your thoughts on that if you did?
So yeah, I haven't seen the teaser yet because we were just doing that show, and I was kind of snoozing before it, just because I have to go to work at 4 a.m. So and I'll snooze afterwards. But I have kind of a hot take. I'm not a big fan of Into the Spider-Verse, to be honest. And part of that could be the fact that the movie itself, the animation style in the theater, gave me a migraine. Like, I got motion sickness watching that movie. I don't know what it was about by the time they got to the final kind of throwdown in that like warehouse or wherever it was in the end, with the big fight. Like, the same thing happened with the Lego Batman movie. Like, it just gave me a headache. I don't know what that animation style does, but it was jarring. And maybe I'm just getting old. I'm the old man on the show, and it's the same thing when I go on roller coasters now, and I realize I'm not 16 anymore, and I can't ride this thing 8,000 times in a row, and I just want to die. So it's I don't know what it is with this headache-inducing stuff that's happening to me lately, but even then, I thought the movie was fine. I thought the stuff, it took a little too long for Miles Morales to kind of really step up and be a hero. They kept like, oh, he's gonna be really good at the Spider-Man thing. Oh wait, no, he's not. They pull it back. And he's gonna do it this time. Oh no, it's not. They pull it back. And then do it again. And no, it's not. They pull it back. And like, and it just took forever. And then he finally does in like the 15 minutes. And I was kind of checked out at that point, just to be honest. I know people love it. I get why they love it, but I got checked out by that point.
Well,
Yeah,
that's
just me.
definitely an perspective. Sam, what are your thoughts on Spider-Verse as a whole, and have you seen the teaser?
Yeah, I saw the teaser. I thought it was a great teaser. My main takeaway from the teaser is that Gwen has some serious like privacy, invasion issues. Just like, I'm just gonna come into your room and just like start looking at your journal and like your artwork and all that shit. It's like, hey, whoa! It's like
You might not like what you see.
yeah, exactly. As far as Spider-Verse goes, I'm a big fan of Spider-Verse, like a lot of people. I'm a little bit with you, Henry, that like when I saw it, I think it's a really good movie. It wasn't like one of my top superhero movies. It's actually not even my favorite. It's probably my third favorite Spider-Man movie, actually. Like the two that I have ahead of it are Spider-Man 2, which is the one that I know a lot of people love. And then the one that I sometimes get some pushback against, like my other favorite, and it's pretty much tied with Spider-Man 2, is actually Spider-Man Homecoming. I think is fucking awesome. Into the Spider-Verse, I will say watching this teaser made me want to see Spider-Verse again. It made me want to watch that first one again because I think it might be one of those things like you were saying, Henry, where like maybe watching it again, it might actually go up my list from watching it again. And we've been my podcast Nerd Shit, we've been revisiting the Maguire and Garfield Spider-Man movies on our podcast build up to No Way Home. So it's been fun like going back and like watching those again. But yeah, I need to see I haven't seen Spider-Verse probably in a year or two.
Wow,
so like I do need to watch it again. I've seen it maybe like 3 times. I haven't seen it like as many times. Like I saw it once in the theater and I probably saw it twice at home, maybe. So I haven't seen it as many times as a lot of people, but I think it's a really fun movie and I really enjoyed it.
There you go. I can't wait to hear your thoughts when you finally revisit. Jacob, what are your thoughts on Spider-Verse, and have you watched the teaser?
I have watched the teaser. I watched it twice actually, because I did not have a Raycom show to prepare for.
Oh damn.
But no, I love Spider-Verse. It's actually in my top 25. I love the movie. It's so good. I get why people don't like it, like Austin. I get why people are like meh on the movie, but personally, I love it. It was a fresh take on Spider-Man with Miles Morales. I think when people first heard about it, it was like another Spider-Man movie. Like it doesn't matter that it's animated; it's another Spider-Man movie. We've had how many of these, reboots with Spider-Man, but it was fresh. I think the animation style was really cool. The second one, yeah, it was a good teaser. It got me excited. I think it's that's the goal.
It didn't show too much, which I do want to preface this by like let's avoid talking about No Way Home, just anything, because I'm trying to avoid, like, obviously I'm on the internet, so I see random like pictures here and there, but like the context of the actual scene. So hoping when I see the movie, the certain things that I've seen pictures of, I don't know the context, so I won't be anticipating what in that scene. I'm like, oh shit, it's gonna happen now. So let's just say avoid that. But with that said, what my point is, why I bring that up is the Inner Spider-Verse 2, it doesn't really give anything away, and like that's what I just obviously there's also the theory of maybe the No Way Home stuff, some of it's fake and bullshit to kind of like deep fake you out, but that sometimes you don't need that much. Like I think the biggest one is on BVS when they showed Doomsday. It's like you don't need to see that in the trailer. Like imagine how cool that would have been to like reveal that for the very first time on screen and not know what's coming. So we'll go from there. But Malcolm, I'm pretty sure you're big into Spider-Verse. So just reiterate, reconfirm that, and then did you watch the teaser before rank them?
Yeah, I mean, I do love Spider-Verse. Like, it's just one of those ones that, I mean, I was one of those ones when I heard it when it was first announced. It's like, oh, it's great, it's going to be another Spider movie. They're going to go Peter Parker again, and they're going to sort of retread the whole backstory again. But then, like, when the first Spider-Verse trailer came out, like, it revealed it was going to be mostly Miles Morales, which is probably, I don't know. I think at the moment he might be actually the people's favorite iteration of Spider-Man in the comics now, because I think a lot of people really love Miles. And I think he might have surpassed the Peter Parker Spider-Mans in popularity in general. But yeah, and I did catch the teaser before ranking. I mean, I thought it was good. Like, I think I said this on your post that I knew there was going to be a sequel. It was going to be a sequel. I had no idea it was going to be a two-part thing. So obviously, whatever story they want to tell in this one is just too big to have put it in one movie. So I'm kind of curious to see what that means and where they're going to go with it.
Yeah, exactly. So I watch Sean Chandler talks about, he was out of all the people that talk about movies, he's the only one that did a reaction for it, at least, before Rankum I saw it. So when I watched his reaction to it, he brought it up where he was like, it's been, by time this movie comes out, it'll be, 3.5 to almost 4 years of, Spider-Verse. So it's like, clearly they took their time writing the script and like making the movie. So apparently if you go in with the part 1 idea, you have a part 1 and part 2 script together, more than likely, you don't want to assume, but more than likely and hoping, so like maybe it's really is well thought out. And it's not one of those where, it's one of my guilty pleasures, but Amazing Spider-Man 2, I enjoy the movie, but I will admit that there's a lot going on and you're kind of like pushing a lot into one movie, hoping that there's another one. Whereas this one, you're like, the odds of this flopping and not getting a second one is low. So let's write 2 movies and let's let them, go back to back. So, that's a curious thing. I'm gonna let Austin go first on the next one. Like, we talk about franchising characters, kind of on the last time we talked about like Rocky and Saw and stuff. So Spider-Man, what is a movie character where it's like you feel like that no matter the medium, whether it's like they expanded into a TV show, they switched over to animation, they just did a reboot of it. What is like a character that you're like, I would be excited regardless of the medium where they switched over, where it's like, yeah, I want to see some more of it. So like, who's one of your favorite characters that you're ready for more?
I think just about every version of the Joker we've ever had has been interesting.
Yeah.
If you think about it, because think about this. So, we've had the Cesar Romero Joker is fun from the old Batman TV series. Like he's a fun Joker, practical joke, literally, squirting stuff in your face, whatever, but he's fun. Jack Nicholson Joker, super fun. Even Jared Leto's Joker, like it's interesting. Like whether or not you like it or not, like his take on it is interesting. The stuff at the end of the Zack Snyder Justice League is interesting. Joaquin Phoenix has a completely new take that's fresh and original. Obviously, Heath Ledger was awesome. Mark Hamill's animated Joker is one of the best Jokers of all time in the animated form, and even other people who have tackled that, like Paul DiMaggio, like in like Under the Red Hood or something like that, have had interesting takes on like the dreads and stuff. Like every iteration of the Joker,
Zach Galifianakis is such like a Batman. Like he has his own personality, and like
I mean, it doesn't matter like what, because that character is can be interpreted so many ways, and it's kind of so broad that you can take it in almost any direction you want to, and it'll be interesting. And I don't think we necessarily had like, I struggle to think of like a bad take. Again, I think the lowest one on people's totem poles are kind of the Leto version, but if you watch Zack Snyder's Justice League, all that stuff at the end, is really good. Like I want to see that one expanded, and maybe he learned from the Suicide Squad stuff and kind of tweaked it a little bit, So I think the Joker has almost been successful in just about anything. There's always trepidations. Oh, how is Joaquin Phoenix say? He's not going to live up to Heath Ledger, but we said the same shit about everything. We didn't think Heath Ledger's going to live up to Jack Nicholson. We said the same thing about every single one, and then somebody does a fresh interpretation and takes in a new direction. So I think that character just kind of works no matter how you do it.
Yeah, that's one where it transcends like just the concept of, as long as you have to have a competent actor, because like regardless of what you think of Jared Leto's Joker, he's a competent actor. So like his take on it, like there's at least something there because of the Joker ideology. There's something there. Even if you screw it up, there's still enough there. And then like him as an actor, there's some, you know what I mean? So like you're still able to piece it. Like I was just joking with Zach Galifianakis though, but like he's a good enough actor, even comedically, where it's like he can bring something to the table. And then the Joker itself, especially the dynamic they had between Joker and Batman in the Lego movie, where it's kind of the I need you, you need me type of relationship. So there's fun there. And you said the animated version, whether Mark Hamill or the other one for the darker versions of the movies, where it's like there's something new because the Joker is like, what is the Joker's backstory? You know what I mean? So that is a great point where it's like there's so much ambiguity to his character that you could do something fresh and interesting, and it may not be your Joker, but it's going to be someone's Joker. You know what I mean? There are
Well, even Mark Hamill himself, within his own Joker performances, his one from the animated series is different from like the Arkham City Joker. You know, like even his own Joker is different, and he's done his own interpretations, or even his version from like the Batman Beyond movie, that Return of the Joker thing. Like he's done even his own or the Killing Joke. You know, any of these movies he's done where he's played the same exact character but has reinterpreted his own version of it several times. I mean, that just speaks to the the character and how much you can kind of play around with it.
Absolutely. Sam, I saw you kind of pondering. Is there a character that you thought of where it's like there's just someone that you think of where you're like either a new version or kind of even like how Austin Turbo, where it's like you just have different perspectives of a character? Like, did you come up with anything?
I mean, in some ways, I want to just come right back to Spider-Man because, like, I mean, I know we were just talking about it, so it feels lazy to just come back to Spider-Man. But I feel like if you had asked me that question just completely, like, just completely in a vacuum where we hadn't even just been talking about that, I feel like that probably would have been my answer because, like, in terms of, you know, no matter what media it is, in terms of like. Even just looking at Peter Parker, like even just not even looking at Miles Morales, like you have great versions that were played, in my opinion, great versions that were all played by Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield and Tom Holland, where all three of them brought something different to the role while still being true to the essence of what Peter Parker is really all about. And then you have like great versions, and I don't know if you guys like ever watched the animated show, The Spectacular Spider-Man, which is fucking awesome. Like there's a great version on that show. There's a great version on that show. There's a great version in the PS4 Insomniac Spider-Man video game that came out in 2018. There's a great version in that's its own thing. And then like the version from Spider-Verse, you know, Peter B. Parker, who's like this kind of alternate, you know, very different version of Peter Parker of like, this is what happened if Peter like kind of went on sort of a different, you know, kind of trajectory after a certain point in his life. So I think, again, I'm a sucker for Spider-Man because, like, for me, Peter Parker in particular is such a relatable character, and I think a lot of people like us who probably were these kind of like these nerdy, you know, kids growing up, like we tended to, especially, you know, like when I was a teenager reading Marvel comics, I was like, I can see myself in that character, as a lot of kids did, I think, and like he's such a relatable character, and like. It's just interesting, you know, like even watching it, like recently rewatching Spider-Man 2, it's interesting that we can have this superhero who struggles with things like paying rent. You know, it's like he has these really relatable struggles. Exactly. Yep. Exactly. But this character who has this really relatable struggles as opposed, like, I mean, exactly. But like as much as I love Batman, like none of us can relate to Bruce Wayne. Like none of us relate to his struggles. You know, it's like
I mean, unless your parents are dead, but that's I think that's a discussion for another story.
Like,
Yikes!
Like none of us are these like trust fund billionaires who like watch their parents get murdered in a dark alley. It's like, you know, it's like, oh, and I went to the mountains for 10 years and learned martial arts. And, you know, it's like,
looking for
but we can
flower.
relate to Spider-Man. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's when you were talking about that, that's what I was thinking. I'm like, so like for me, like everyone has their own interpretation of Spider-Man. Like, you know, people joke about like, oh, Tobey Maguire's the best Peter Parker and Andrew Garfield's the best Spider-Man. Tom Holland's the best blend of both. Miles Morales is the best like new version. Like everyone has their own, because when you really think about it, Spider-Man is the everyday hero. You know, he's the neighborhood Spider-Man. You know what I mean? You can relate to him on different levels. Whereas Batman, people love him because he's just so badass and cool. People love Superman because he's just so OP. You know what I mean? Like people love, but at the end of the day, people love Spider-Man just because of that relatability. So I definitely can dig on that. Jacob, any characters you want to give a shout out based on this topic?
Yeah, I mean, I can echo, you know, the Joker and Spider-Man definitely, but you know, since we're in the Christmas season, I have been waiting 15 years for Tim Allen to play Santa Claus again.
Yes.
That's hilarious. Let's go.
If a new Santa Claus movie was announced, I would try my best to be there opening night to see it.
Hold on, I'm gonna hit you with a twist right here. So if they did a remake of the same exact story, who would you remake in 2021? Who would you recast as the Tim Allen Santa Claus?
Ooh.
Who is today's like that type of guy? Like, do you have one? Or anyone? I'm just curious.
Not that I would want to see it, but they would probably cast like Ryan Reynolds as Santa Claus, which I'm not for. But that's probably what they would go to or something.
I would actually think of Ryan Gosling.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll
Chris
see
Pratt.
Chris Pratt.
Yeah, Chris Pratt or
Chris
something.
Pratt.
Yeah, somebody that's kind of goofy. Yeah, I don't know.
The first name that came to my mind was Robert Downey Jr. I think he could play that. You know, I don't want to do
that's
this.
actually not bad.
I don't want to do this, but then he
Directed by Shane Black.
right, kind of like he did with
Yeah,
Iron
right.
Man. Like,
It's rated R, yeah.
No, I love the original trilogy of the Santa Claus. You know, I know Santa Claus 3 isn't great,
I was gonna say trilogy, let's,
but you know, I
wanted to.
Tim Allen is still.
I would argue 1.5 good movies personally, but
I love to. I'm a big fan of Santa Claus
it's
too.
all right. It's okay.
I think
Yeah.
he was great, especially with the clone Santa Claus. Like that's just.
That was
that's
fun
great.
actually. I
Great.
enjoyed that.
Yeah, I don't know if it's just because we're in the Christmas season, but yeah, I would love a new Tim Allen Santa Claus movie.
That is definitely
Well,
someone.
they've had so many different Santa Clauses, Jay. I mean, look, Paul Giamatti played Santa Claus and Fred Claus. I mean, how weird is that? Like, you know, that's unconventional
How do you know?
casting.
You
at its
didn't even
best.
watch it.
I know, I did. I got halfway through it and I stopped.
There we
I
go.
couldn't do it anymore. I was almost
That
done.
Well,
movie is way too long.
if they remade the Santa Claus today, does it have to start where he accidentally kills the old Santa Claus, but the old Santa Claus is Tim Allen in like a 5-second cameo, where it's like they actually ends up accidentally killing him?
If they remade
Like-
it today, that is probably how they would do it. Like that's how the meta
Yeah.
and like, you know, like let's.
Well,
the
that
old-
was my
the old
rant
Tim-
about they would do the same thing like they did with Candyman and Texas Chainsaw. They'll just call it the
name it
Santa
Santa
Claus, but
Claus,
it'll be
yeah.
a spiritual sequel. It'll have Tim Allen in it with somebody else, but they'll call it the same thing just to confuse everybody, like fucking assholes.
then-
Like,
and then
that's
I had
exactly
this
what they would do.
idea. I actually had this idea that what if and I thought about this last year, because I usually watch the Santa Claus every year around this time. But I had the idea that what if when the old Santa Claus dies, that the person who was Santa Claus actually, like, when they disappear, he like goes back to his old life. Basically, it's like so he wakes up again. He's just Scott Calvin again, and then like maybe he like finds the new Santa Claus like rejects the job, and he has to go like convince him, like, I don't know, I guess to train him to be the new Santa Claus. I don't know. I think that's a way they could do it.
or they can do it like It Follows style, where you have to fuck the new Santa Claus if you want to be the Santa Claus.
I just thought maybe they just neuralize your Santa Claus when you're not him anymore, like in Men in Black. They like like Tommy Lee Jones. He wakes up from a coma for 30 years and he just has to go try to live some life and forgets he was Santa Claus all along.
No. Actually, now that you say it, Will Smith would be a great Santa. Like if we did a remake, that would be perfect. Let Will Smith be the new Tim Allen, the Santa Claus. That would be a lot of fun. I feel like
I think he'd be good.
really
I
get that
actually do.
Oscar.
I mean, honestly, I'd love to see a Santa Claus Disney Plus series where it shows maybe like Scott Calvin's son or something that whatever reason he's taken on the role of Santa, and
that is one of the sweeter moments in those movies where he's like, I believed the whole time. I knew he was real. You know what I mean? That is definitely, that's really where that heart, you know, obviously, you know, whether it's nostalgia or whether it's campiness and you just kind of fall for it. But like those movies do have a lot of heart to it. And it is the father-son dynamic. Yeah, there's a lot to that movie. And so I actually don't hate that idea, Malcolm, where you actually kind of carry it over.
I want a Bernard series with David Krumholtz because we need more David Krumholtz in our lives.
Where he's just bitter and he's just bossing people around. And
He's just sipping
Why
coffee.
is he so mad? Let's find out.
He's become the guy in Office Space.
The lack of Bernard is a lot of what ruined the third one for me. It's like it's not
Bernard.
the same. It's not the same. Or Bernard, whatever it was. Barabbas. Yeah, I'm seeing exactly. I'm like Scott Calvin. Can't remember his name. But the lack of David Krumholtz was, I think, the worst thing about the third one, to be honest.
Yeah,
there you go.
It's
Malcolm,
just a shame we can't get more Molinator.
Yikes.
Yeah, he passed away. Damn. Rest in peace, Art LaFleur.
Hopefully Malcolm can bring us back on a lighter note. Do you have a character for the last one of this topic that you really would either want to see an expansion of, or reboot, or anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, none that kind of like nothing that kind of came to mind. But then I was sort of thinking, and this might be a weird one, but like I'm big into '90s sitcoms, and I really loved Sabrina the Teenage Witch, the series, and I would like to see them either revisit that character in a movie or that was on it. I know they rebooted it for Netflix and put a whole darker spin on it, which was it was actually a pretty good series, really. And I know a lot of people criticize, go, "Oh, you took the '90s sitcom to made it super dark." Like the Netflix series is the way that Sabrina was in the comics. That's exactly the tone of what those original comics were. They weren't light and fluffy like what '90s sitcom thought it to be. But I mean, I think Sabrina is one of those ones that I think, while it might not be a typical thing to bring back, I'd like to see maybe a reboot somehow. I don't know how you do it.
That's definitely interesting. The first thing that I thought of when you brought up Sabrina is I want to see Salem the Cat crossover with the Pug from Little Nicky, and let's see if they do their adventures and see how crazy that gets. That I don't know why.
I want to see the two black cats, Salem the cat from that and the cat from Hocus Pocus, like having adventures together. Two talking black cats and like a buddy cop movie. I'm down with that.
See, where you just will go over and do some witch magic, and you just how are you able to bring all these witches together and kind of be the anchor, be the Alfred to all these witches, and see what these cats can do.
Let's complete that trifecta with the cat from Coraline too. Let's throw that one in there.
and then do a Roger Rabbit style where you mix you mix animation, live action. You get weird with it.
We can try to recruit Garfield, but he's just not down.
There you go.
No.
That kind of since Jacob brought up the holiday season, Sam, what is your go-to holiday movie? Whether it's the feel good, the family one, the comedy, the not common pick. Like what is the first thing you think of when you think of holiday films? Specifically Christmas, I should say.
My Christmas movie is actually Die Hard. I do consider Die Hard a Christmas movie, and I genuinely consider it to be a Christmas movie.
Die Hard 2.
Die Hard 2.
No, it's a joke. No, it's a callback to our wacky tournament fights we had the other night. Just ignore me.
Oh, okay.
It's just an inside joke.
Die Hard 2 is okay. I mean,
number one Christmas movie. Yeah, some people.
Like it is
according to tournament fights, it is.
Die Hard 2 is a Christmas movie, but no, I mean Die Hard for me, like it's a fun action movie. It's got humor in it, but it also has that family element. He's just trying to trying to save his wife so that they could get home to their kids for Christmas. I feel like it's a feel good Christmas movie at the end. I feel like. My other is A Christmas Story, actually. That's the way you said Die Hard and Home Alone. My other is A Christmas Story. But that's just one that I grew up watching. Like my parents introduced it to me and my brother, and we always would watch that on Christmas Eve. So, but those are my two: are Die Hard and Christmas Story.
So it's actually funny because I haven't watched A Christmas Story as an adult yet because it was actually filmed in the town that I grew up in. And that doesn't happen very often because I live in Northwest Indiana, which is, right by Chicago. So there's a lot of Chicago movies, so like I see a lot of like common things like, oh yeah, Wacker Drive and, the Trump building and all those types of things where it's like, I've seen those. But in terms of like actually like Northwest Indiana, like Hammond, Indiana, where it's like, that's crazy that you see that. So it's like, I don't want to ruin the memory I have, but also like I don't want to have that cheesiness where I'm like, oh yeah, that's my thing. So I want to love it for the right reason. So I was like, I'm afraid to rewatch that because I don't know if I'm gonna despise it because it's like so like that movie, but also like I want to love it for the right reason. So like I feel like this is gonna be the first year where I finally do rewatch it, and I'm definitely curious to see it. So I might agree with you, but as of right now, I don't necessarily. Jacob, what is your go-to Christmas movie?
Oh well, always kick it off with Die Hard. As the meme says, it's not Christmas until you see Hans Gruber falling off, Nakatomi Plaza. But like I just brought it up, the Santa Claus. I I love the original. It's a staple on my TV every Christmas. I love Tim Allen, and I think the movie progresses perfectly, and the sequel as well. And then there's a third one that may or may not get watched every Christmas. It depends, but definitely those first two, I think they're great. And then just to throw out a recent one, Klaus. I think Klaus was fantastic, and I think
Klaus is really good. Yeah.
So
I gotta watch that again this year.
Yeah, that's one I actually haven't seen. So I know I've heard literally nothing but good things about it, but I just didn't watch it because it's animated. It was a Netflix release, and I just never got to it. So it's one of those where I need to. I'm gonna flip it with Malcolm. What is your most random Christmas pick where you're like most, like for example, the Die Hard haters, Die Hard is a random one. So like, what is one where it could be like a random horror movie or Christmas, or a movie that just has snow, like Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. You like, what I mean? Like whatever. What is a random Christmas movie that you happen to watch every year, or like more years than not?
I mean, it's one of those ones like, when it like for random, like I don't watch a lot of random ones a lot of the time. I mean,
well, what's your most underrated then? I guess let's maybe that.
I mean, I think The Bishop's Wife is actually really underrated. I mean, it's one that well, it's a classic. Not many people really talk about it. It's a Christmas movie because I was watching Tearing Fights. Like I think it ended up in haven't seen because a lot of people hadn't seen it. And it's just one of those ones that whether people don't see it as a Christmas movie or just for some whatever reason it goes under people's radar. I don't know, but it's a good movie. I watched it for the first time sort of last year, and I actually rewatched it again with I did a double feature of that and The Preacher's Wife, which is the Denzel Washington remake of it.
Interesting.
And Bishop's Wife is actually pretty good.
There you go. So to kind of piggyback on that, Austin, after your tier ranker fight and doing all the studying for the fights, the tournament fights, like what is one that either you haven't revisited before those episodes and you wanted to revisit, or one that you hadn't seen and you watched after hearing the discussion about it? Have you had one?
I'm gonna watch The Shop Around the Corner because Viviani was pushing it so hard. So like, I think that's gonna be one I do watch. Before the show, I had never sat down and watched Christmas with the Cranks, and now I despise that movie maybe more than anybody did on that show. Like that movie is just like hurts me to watch, like these people forcing others to celebrate Christmas. Like it just hurts me. Like just all these Karens. But anyways, it's a whole new context when you watch it in 2021. But like as far as the original question, you were talking about just a goofy one, like a random one. I mean, we talked about on tournament fights, but I watch Silent Night, Deadly Night 2 every year, and it's fucking fantastic.
That won a couple rounds, didn't it?
Oh, we went through almost to the final four. It made it to the poll. So yeah, it's
somebody here may have ruined it.
Yeah, and but even if you haven't seen the movie, I guarantee you've seen the clip, the Garbage Day clip. You've seen it, so like that's what it's from that movie. So, but yeah, like I just dig, and I'll watch it because it has kind of like half of the movie is just flashbacks to the original movie, so you can get the best of both movies, all in one, and it's very lazy, but it's very fun. But Jingle All the Way is my favorite, though. By the way,
yeah, Jingle All the Way.
I love Jingle All the Way.
Top tier.
I love Jingle All the Way.
Can I quickly throw out a couple more random ones before we move on?
Yeah, go ahead.
It's have you guys ever seen Rare Exports?
Yeah, a long time ago though.
Oh,
yeah,
a long time ago. Okay, so it's a I'm trying to remember like what country it's actually from, but it's like a Scandinavian movie.
Yeah, it's like Norway or
I think it's
like
Norway.
Like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But so it's a subtitled movie, so just know that going in. But it's like it is a Christmas movie, but it's like a Krampus like kind of horror sort of. I don't know. It's one of those movies you just kind of have to watch. It's really unique. It's a really unique movie, but like I love that movie. I discovered it a few years ago, and that's usually in my rotation as well. And then one that's not really a Christmas movie, but just the last scene of it is Christmas. That's a more recent film that I've just started watching every year on Christmas is Green Book, actually. Just because like I just think it's a nice feel-good movie that I just like to watch around this time of year. And I love Green Book. I thought it was a really good movie. So
okay, so that brings me. That's a good conversation starter for the next one. So Green Book is a movie that like I really enjoyed it the first time I watched it, and then it got all the negative like talks, you know, because of the white saviorness or it's not as true to the real story, and also just the fact that it won Best Picture, you know, over Black Panther and other movies that came out that year. And it's one of those where it's like, you know, I watched Crash a couple months ago for the first time since, if not when it came out, just real close. So like it's definitely the first time since I got into like talking about film, and I loved it. You know what I mean? Like I have no beef. Like I love Brokeback Mountain and I love Crash. Like I feel like both of those narratives can exist. So it's one of those like, sometimes you need to separate the community, and kind of like what we were talking about when I was talking about Spider-Verse earlier, where it's like I love Spider-Verse, but like the community makes me like afraid to love it as much as everyone else because I don't want to be like everyone else. So like the Crash thing, where it's like I watch them like this movie's great, like it's a little heavy-handed, but like it's only heavy-handed because it's telling a heavy-handed story, not because it's saying the world's like this, just this specific, these specific stories. So I want to go around the table and ask, like, what is a movie that, whatever the narrative is, where it's a community, whether it's reviews or whatever, that you just disagree with, like legitimately, and it either happened on your rewatch where you went in with open eyes, or just on the first time watch, you're like, yeah, I don't see what everyone else is seeing. This movie's great. Or, let's go with the great. Like people say it's bad, you say it's great. Because there's a lot of easy ones that people say are bad and you think, or people say are good and you think are bad. So what is a movie that people say that are bad that you think is real good? Malcolm, I'll let you go first. Is there a movie that, whether it's reviews, whether it's the community, whatever, is there a movie that you disagree with and you think is actually good?
Yeah, because and just to piggyback off what Austin did earlier, and that's Christmas the Cranks. There's everyone despises Christmas the Cranks that I've seen, but
not Jordan's family. Jordan's family loves it. That's why he always has to walk out of the room.
but that's one I actually enjoy watching because I have a lot of fun with it. And just to flip it on, actually, I'll go back to that one. I'll think of it some more, but I can't really think of what one that's that everyone says is good that I really don't like at this stage.
All right, Austin, is there one that like comes out of your mind where it's like this is like a favorite of yours, but everyone thinks it's like bad?
Immediately, see, I'm a Zack Snyder guy. So let me pause and say, not B movies though, because that's an obvious. But I'm talking about like well-made. No, mine's a mainstream movie. No, I'm a Zack Snyder guy, and I love BVS, like especially the extended version. Like I think that movie is damn near a masterpiece. Like I think it's that movie, just first of all, is gorgeous. Like every frame of that movie, you could make a portrait on your wall, and it is beautiful. And I think the performances, the story is dense. I just think it's one of those movies where it. I mean, I don't want to sound pedantic, but like I think the MCU is kind of made for like 12-year-olds, and Zack Snyder makes movies for grown men. Like he just does. And I'm sorry, like he makes more sophisticated superhero movies. Like, yeah, like I Man of Steel and BVS and Zack Snyder's Justice League are just they're made for a smarter audience. I'm just gonna say it. Like to me, I think they are. And I know it's a hot take, but I know I'm not alone in that sentiment. I think like Ben Affleck's Batman is the best Batman we've ever had on screen. I think Henry Cavill, and well, that's what's just funny. It's what everybody says. I hate BVS, but what about that warehouse scene? Okay, that's pretty fucking good. Like, yeah, so is the rest of the movie. Like, so is the rest of the fucking movie. Henry Cavill as Superman is excellent, and the crisis he's going through and all the stuff he's being set up for in that movie is great. I just think Like the score is fucking good. Everything's good about that movie. Like I've just never understood. Even the first time I saw the shorter theatrical cut, like I dug it, and the extended one just cemented my spot. So I know I don't think I'm alone on that, but I think the perception is still that BVS is bad. You know what I mean? Like it's still
I definitely
everything
think
I see.
once the Ultimate Edition came out, a lot of people, even if they didn't give it a positive rating, they at least bumped it up. You know what I mean? It's one of those where it helps the perspective.
Yeah.
So like for me, I don't remember. I think the first time I watched it, I liked it, and then as I sat on it, it went down. And then when the Ultimate cut came out, I'm like, I loved it. You know what I mean? So it's one of those where it helped, and I feel like that's the perspective of most, which is ironic for when Suicide Squad came out with its director's cut. It was just a cash grab where the extra scenes were bad, and it didn't help the movie as a whole. So it kind of the memory of that makes the BVS one kind of like that, and then the you know Snyder's Justice League kind of just became a meme for so many years that people just forgot about BVS at this point. So I agree with you, and that's an interesting conversation. Sam, what is a movie that you're just against the grain on, and like you like it, like a mainstream one that you like it, but most people just don't?
I agree with Pez about BVS. The only thing that I don't agree with you on is the kind of negative comparisons against the MCU. I think the MCU is great at what it does, and I think Snyder's DC movies are great at what they're doing different things. Is kind of the way I view it. But I'm a big fan of the MCU, and I'm also a huge Snyder fan. And actually, my opinion of BVS went up even more when I saw Snyder's Justice League, because it used to be my only real issue with BVS was what the hell's going on with this nightmare stuff and like the Flash going back in time. And then they actually paid that off in Snyder's Justice League. It's like, okay, I understand more in hindsight what was going on with all that there was actually a plan in place. It wasn't just, hey, we're just going to throw in a Mad Max type scene because it's cool, you know, like whatever. As far as like another movie for me, I'm actually going to throw in a really recent one that's actually still in theaters. I really loved Eternals. I know that I know that wasn't a movie that like everyone necessarily hates, but I think it has like the lowest like tomato score of any MCU film, which to me is fucking ridiculous. Like there's no way that Eternals is worse than like Iron Man 2 or like
Thor Dark World, right, Austin?
It's funny you should mention those. No, okay, we'll save that for later.
or like, and honestly, I like pretty much every movie in the MCU for the most part. There's not a movie that I hate within the
funny
MCU.
You should say that.
Yeah, no, I know that I know that, but there are weaker ones. Like to me, the ones I mentioned are weak. Guardians 2. I know there's different thoughts on Guardians 2. I wasn't a big fan of Guardians 2. I thought that movie just meandered and was all over the place. But like Eternals, like that was a really cool, interesting movie. Like, and it's funny. Like I actually enjoyed it on a similar level that I enjoy Snyder's films. Of like it felt like this big sweeping epic, and it did feel like more mature film in terms of its storytelling than a lot of other MCU. Again, I really do love the MCU, but I did feel that again, Eternals felt like more grown up to me when I watched it. So like I really thought it was a really good movie.
Yeah, I mean,
go ahead, Malcolm.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a quote going around that Clozel said something about her taking direct inspiration from Zack Snyder when deciding what to do with Eternals. I'm not 100% sure where that was said. I just remember seeing that quote, but yeah, I'm also someone that really did not hate Eternals. And I think part of the reason why a lot of people, I think a lot of, I mean, I'm only speculating, so I can't speak for anyone, but I think part of the reason why people didn't really connect with was that the style wasn't similar to what they already used to from the MCU. Closeout did try to take a different tack for the MCU. While I think this might have worked out better as a TV series as opposed to a movie, I think what we got was good.
Yeah, so Eternals, it's one of those where we kind of talked about this on the last episode of the roundtable where I was talking about Spiral within the Saw franchise, where it's like depending on how it goes on the next one, I'll be able to evaluate Spiral more because of what I saw is good, but I just felt empty and I didn't feel the closure. And I feel like that's what Eternals is. There's really no closure because of all the buildup that's within the movie. Then you're getting to know these characters, and there's like a couple of like stories and character moments that like, you know, resolve, or at least, get deeper into, the mythology of the characters. But like as a whole, and as an Eternal storyline, it really doesn't do much big picture wise yet. So I feel like if the next installment, whether it's Eternals 2 or just whatever phase the MCUs that they go into, then it will help a lot of people. Like it could become a cult classic, or like one of those revisited ones later if it pays off down the road, where people are like, oh, it really did, it was actually a start movie, and so yeah, I didn't feel the closure by the end, but like later on I did. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, honestly, if you really think about it, take I Am Iron Man out of Iron Man 1, and it really doesn't do much closing wise. He gets in the fight, but like at the end of the day, like other than him becoming Iron Man, it's just there's a couple things that happen. It's not as closure, but then once you get all the Tony Stark and Iron Man in the MCU, you're like, I love this character. So then when you go and revisit it, you're like, this built it. This is what I love, and this is the start. You know what I mean? So it's one of those. I feel like Eternals could be that. I'm speaking hypothetically, but I think it's possible. So you never know what's gonna happen. So that's a good one, Jacob. I want to go with you here. And what is a movie that you revisited now that is a favorite, where you didn't love it the first time?
Ooh, I didn't love the first time. Movie I didn't like Fight Club the first time I saw it.
That's definitely
I could get that. I could understand that. Yeah.
I don't know why. I think it might have been who I was watching it with. They weren't feeling it, and they were kind of commenting on it, and so that might have brought my enjoyment of it down. I rewatched it, absolutely loved it.
Yeah.
And the movie is so good. I don't understand how people cannot like that movie now.
Honestly, it's once again, there's so many movies where it's the film bro thing, where it's like, oh, every college dude with a dorm room has this poster on it, but that's just judging the movie on culture. You know what I mean? But like the film as itself is fantastic. The performances are fantastic. The commentary is really great if you're realizing it's commentary and not like preaching that we're actually trying to do like terrorist stuff. So yes, it's one of those where it's either you're a diehard fan of it or you're anti-film bro. There's really no middle ground. Most people don't say it's fine. It's either great or it's no, I don't want to be like one of them. So I definitely get that on the rewatch. You have that different perspective. While Malcolm puts his headphones on, I'll go into Austin. Do you have one where it's like it's kind of like a GOAT tier level movie, S tier movie, where it's like at first it wasn't, though, it kind of just whatever reason ramped up?
Well, I talked about this a little bit on the last time, but I'll revisit it. And this was more of the marketing and the mood I was in when I saw it. But I talked about Kick-Ass, and the first time I saw it, whatever reason, if you go back and watch the original trailers, the people doing it and whoever's doing the marketing marketed it as this like teen slapstick, super bad kind of comedy, with people dressing up as superheroes, and then you get kind of to the second half of that movie and it gets like really dark and really brutal. Like there's some really like really crazy stuff, and but commenting on why you shouldn't be a superhero, like why it's a bad idea, to go around as a silly vigilante, with your sticks, behind you. But here's the thing, I didn't like where it went, because I thought, and even in the first part of the movie, to be fair, like the movie kind of starts like that. Like when, even when he first puts his costume on, he's just like in the mirror, come on, I'm going to get you, he's just like goofing around. But then like he gets stabbed and gets the shit kicked out of him. And you're like, oh, this movie like took a turn. But the second time I saw it, and I saw it about a week later, because I had a buddy of mine who just wanted to see it, and I was like, all right, well, like I'll go with you, that's fine. But because I knew where it was going, I was able to kind of flow with the movie much better, and I was able to just like vibe with it and just roll. And I think it's a testament to like sometimes your perceptions can, or what you think a movie might be, you can't. I want to tell people out there, don't be too. With this new Spider-Man movie coming out, I feel like if people's expectations are like way up here, and when they don't get exactly what they want, they're gonna like shit all over it. Like you need to watch your expectations or what you think the movie's gonna be,
And
as
that's why I'm
opposed to
avoiding
what it's
trailers.
gonna
I
end
want to
up
go
being.
into it blind,
Yeah.
and I want to judge
Because
based
I saw
on what I
some
see on screen.
I saw some poster. It was like some meme about like what the fans expect from Spider-Man: No Way Home, and it was like every character that's ever been in any Spider-Man movie ever just like smashed onto the screen and just like all this stuff. And it's like, you guys better temper your expectations. I'm not saying you can't go in expecting a good movie, but like I think the marketing and your expectations of something can really hinder what you get out of it if you don't kind of go into it with an open mind.
Yeah, and like I said, that's one of those where it's like I'm trying to avoid everything as much as possible because I want to like see it on screen for the first time and kind of have that like ooh fist pump moment because I didn't watch the trailer and I minimized my clips and my screenshots and all that stuff. But also like I also don't want to have expectations going in because I want to I want to love it for what I get. I think my one first one that comes to mind is Bad Times at the El Royale. Because of it's coming off of Drew Goddard's Cabin in the Woods. So you're kind of expecting something like that. And also a lot of people consider it like a Tarantino ripoff. And it's more complex and there's a lot going on to it at the same time that like you don't really know. It's one of those where it's like by the end where it goes. So everything that led up to it felt I can't think of the word, meandering. You know what I mean? It's very delicate with its time. It takes its time. So when you watch on rewatches, all the little things that you kind of want to talk about, on Rankin with Shutter Island, where it's like, yeah, by the end it's not confusing. You know exactly how it ends, but on rewatches you see the little things and where it goes and how it unfolds. You're able to enjoy it in real time. And Bad Times at the Royale is another one where it's like, honestly, no person I've ever talked to that has revisited has had a bad thing to say about it. They always say it's either better or they love it. You know what I mean? So it's one of those where it's like the more I watch it, it's so much fun. And there's just, there's different characters you can attach to at the time. Jeff Bridges' character, Cynthia Erivo's, they're fantastic singing. The little bit that John Hamm has, Jeff Bridges is awesome. The kid that played, I think his name's Miles, Dakota Johnson. Like there's so many different characters where there's so many layers to them. It's a lot of fun. So if you haven't revisited Bad Times at the Royale in a while since the first time you watch it, and especially if you didn't really enjoy it, I recommend it because it's one of those where it's like now that you know where it went, you rewatch it and you're like, man, this is actually a lot of fun. I think Sam is on you where it's like, what is something that you revisited that now is like, man, this is a top tier movie for me?
Oh, well, first of all, kind of just reply, like, Bad Times at the El Royale is actually one of my top 10 of 2018. Like, I really fucking love that movie. And, like, I actually loved it the first time. I've seen it a few times now, but, like, I was one of the people, I really was into it the first time. But it does in a lot of ways get even better on rewatch. I'm having a hard time thinking of one that I had like a really radically different experience with, at least as far as one that I didn't like at first that I loved the second time. I will say a movie that I didn't like the first time I watched it, that I came to appreciate more the second time, was The Social Network. So I really love David Fincher as a director. I don't consider The Social Network to be one of his best movies. I know a lot of people do. For some reason, For some reason, that movie just never clicked with me the way it did for a lot of people. But I definitely came to appreciate it a lot more relatively the second time, where it's like, okay, I see a lot of what he was doing in terms of like how well constructed this movie is. And I think it was also like what you're kind of saying, actually, another Fincher movie about Fight Club. It's like recognizing how you're supposed to feel about the characters in it. Like, I think that when I watched it for the first time, for some reason, I thought that we were supposed to like Zuckerberg. And then when I watched it the second time, I was like, wait, no, we're not supposed to like Zuckerberg. And when I realized that, the movie became better for me. So that's one that I came to appreciate a lot more. It's like, okay, it's still not one of my favorite Fincher movies. I have like a really random, this is kind of a tangent, but like I have a really random ass like top 3 when it comes to Fincher movies. There are movies like Nobody Ever Says. which I can
The
rattle them
game?
off real quick if you
The
want.
game?
Yeah,
The
let's
game?
do
Not
them top three.
not the game.
Oh,
Actually,
damn.
the game is
Shit.
the game is one of my blind spots. I actually haven't seen the game. I need to watch.
I'm
that.
like the only one on the planet who like loves the game. I don't know why. Like I
It's
fucking love
a
the game.
it's a 5-star for me. I love it. It's people.
Yeah.
I've had long discussions where like the ending, blah blah blah. I'm like, you guys just don't understand it. The ending's fantastic.
My favorite Fincher movie is one that nobody else has. This one, I'd be amazed
Alien
if any of
3.
you guys have this one. It's
No.
actually the girl with the dragon tattoo. Is actually my
Nice.
favorite Fincher movie.
That might be the only one that I don't like, and I've given it
really.
multiple chances.
I
Yeah,
fucking
me
love
too.
that movie. I fucking love it. I think it's way better than the Swedish version, which I know it's a hot take, but like I think it's the way
Wow,
better.
Sam doesn't
version
like
of
to
that
read.
film. Yeah, well, I never read the book. I'm saying that it's better. Well, okay, in terms
meant
of subtitles.
subtitles.
In terms of subtitles, yeah, no. I love Noomi Rapace. Like I love her as an actress. I just think that the Swedish version. I mean, both versions are really dense, but the Swedish version was just like overly confusing to me. Like I feel that the Fincher version was like, we're gonna take this complex story and we're gonna tell it in a coherent way where you can completely follow all the plot beats. And I like the cast better. I honestly I love Noomi Rapace, but I thought that Rooney Mara.
I will admit
Yeah.
that like I will anytime she's in something, it's from that movie where I'm like, all right, I'm gonna give her the benefit of the doubt. Like she's not like she's ever done anything bad, but it's like I'm willing to take a chance on her all the time because like even though I don't like the movie, she's fantastic in the movie. So
Yeah, and my other two favorites are Zodiac and Gone Girl. Actually, I thought Gone Girl was awesome.
Gone Girl's
So-
awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so you definitely like the. I mean, I guess a lot of them are weird and crazy, but yeah, you definitely like the weird, slow paced ones.
Yeah.
So when you were talking about
Mhm.
Social Network, that's actually my interesting thing when it comes to Fincher, because Fincher is one of my favorite directors. But Social Network is one of the ones in his filmography where every time I watch it, I'm like, damn, dude, how is this not in my favorites? But I just haven't seen it enough to like confidently put in there.
Dude,
And every time,
Social Network ages like fine wine,
No,
bro.
it
Like
absolutely does, like I
I've
said.
seen that movie so many times. Like it just gets better every time I watch it, man.
No,
I'm telling
and I
you,
agree, but
pacing,
I've only
the
seen
writing.
it like three
yeah.
maybe 4 times where it's like when I'm putting like because I'm in the middle of like finalizing my top 100, I'm like I just can't have it in there right now because it's like I just haven't seen it enough. So like when I'm thinking of all these other movies, like they're just one above it, but there's one above it, but 100 of them that are one above it, and it's just it's a bummer. But on the flip side of that coin, Zodiac, where it's like it's so like well constructed and such an interesting story, but it has that coldness to it where it's like I just don't love it. Like I think it's a good movie, but like I just like a lot of people are like that's my number one Fincher. A lot of people are like like you, where it's like top 3 Fincher. I'm like that's mid-tier Fincher for me, but that doesn't mean it's a bad movie. It's like it just leaves me. It's one of the few movies where it leaves me cold, and I'm like it's hard to like put it up because Fincher's one of my favorites. So it's like I would rather have the coldness at the end of Gone Girl because of all the fun stuff that's going on in between. Or it's like I'm one of the few where I just rewatched Benjamin Button a couple weeks ago, and it's like I really love that movie. Like there's a coldness to that even because of the slow pace and like the relationship stuff that goes on that like it gets a little sad and all that stuff. But like there's a lot of fun stuff that goes in where it's just Zodiac. There's just no fun. Like even Seven, like there's fun dynamic between Brad Pitt and Morgan Freeman and John Doe stuff. Like there's not necessarily fun, but like dynamic and like awesome to watch. Whereas like Zodiac, like it's really not that for me, and that's a bummer because like it's so well made. So
did it throw it off when Charles Fleischer started doing the Roger Rabbit voice in the basement? Did that throw it off for you, or just
that is definitely that is the one where I'm like that is the scene where it's like similar to what I was talking about like Rooney Mara and Girl with Dragon Tattoo, where it's like I don't really like the movie that much.
He's like,
but, like,
can you please come down to the basement?
There you go.
And it was like, man, the movie just went off the rails from there, man. I just got pulled out of it.
That's crazy.
Don't worry.
Malcolm, now that you're back, I'll let you end today's episode. What is a movie that you just for some reason it is now a top tier movie, but your memory of it, you're like it actually wasn't. It could have been like low bottom, like bad movie, and you kind of just flipped the script, or like mid tier and it just like skyrocketed on rewatches. Do you have a movie like that? I don't think it doesn't say you're muted, but did you unplug? I think you turned your mic off.
He was
I did.
There you go.
there you go.
You got one, Malcolm?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it would actually have to be The Godfather. Like, it's in my top 5 movies of all time. But the first time I actually watched it, a while back, it was just one of those ones that I thought was fine, but it's just was too long. But now when I started sort of appreciating movies a much more, it kind of jumped up to the top. Just very, very fast, and like even the second one's gone up a little bit. Eventually, I've just like with The Godfather, I'd watched the first 2 many times. I've still yet to see either version of 3 yet, but I do plan on watching it at least some stage.
It's not as bad as people make it out to be. It's not bad. It's not a bad movie.
I haven't seen it either, but it's one of those where, like, if you're trying to compare it to 1 and 2, obviously it's not up there. But like people that say it's like, you know, the worst movie of all time or so bad.
No, not even close.
Alien 3 compared.
Not even close.
Yeah, it's like I heard
it's not that's not the reason why I've never watched 3. It's just that
No. I just watched it for the first time like a year or 2 ago, and then I watched it again when that Coda like Blu-ray came out, like the new thing. So I've actually seen it twice in the last year or so. But like, it's not. People make it out to be like the worst thing ever, and it's not. And people always complain about Sofia Coppola, but like, she's only in like 20 minutes of the movie, and it's a 2-hour and 50-minute movie. I mean, she does not ruin that movie. Like, you can get past that stuff, and it's fine, and everything else is okay. So just putting it out there, it's not as bad as people make it out to be.
And
Really
that's honestly, that's been like the main thread line of this entire episode is like expectations of films. It's like you just don't go into movies with expectation. I know it sounds dumb because that's like inherent in nature, where you're thinking of somewhere. It's I saw the trailer, so I'm expecting it to be like the trailer, whether it's tone or style or whatever, or it's part of a franchise. I'm expecting to be like the other ones or whatever. You know what I mean? Just I honestly think you just need to judge movies based on how you vision them. Like, a good example is like Blade Runner 2049 for me, where it's like that's one of the few where I'm like, oh, that's not what I was expecting. Or Dunkirk with Nolan, where it's like, that's not what I was expecting, but at no point did I ever think it was bad. It just on the rewatches, I'm like, oh, it went up, but it's like, it's never a fair, but I never thought it was bad. Whereas I hate when a lot of people are like, oh, that movie was bad because it wasn't expected. I'm like, that bad expectations shouldn't affect good versus bad. It's just to affect how
you could
how
be
much you enjoy something.
you could be excited for a movie. There's nothing wrong with being excited for a new entry in a franchise or being excited for a new director's project. Yeah, like I'm excited for the new Matrix movie, and like I have no idea what it's about or what they're going to give me. But you know what? I'm excited to, and I'm open to the excitement to see like what it's about. Like I want to see what they've come up with over the last really 18 years. To see what they're coming back to and how they're going to reinterpret kind of this this story, because it's obviously still going to somewhat follow the originals and kind of play around with the mythology a little bit. And like, but I'm not putting a movie in my head as far as what I want out of the film. I'm just going, I really like, the Matrix movies, and let's see what you got, let's see what you got going on.
There you go. So I'm gonna go around the table one time, do a plug of something, and also one movie that it's like the highest on your queue of personal watch list of like, whether it's because of the holiday season, whether it's because of it's just been it's been talked about, not new releases, because new releases are easy. So just something that's an older movie, even if it's just a year, but like something where it's like, all right, it's my goal, I want to watch this one, and it's one of your top ones. Jacob, go ahead and plug your new show, and then see what is something that's like high on your queue of like, I need to finally watch it, whether it's a blind spot or whatever.
Oh man. Okay.
Pressure. How about plug your thing, and then hopefully you think of your movie.
I'll be thinking about that. Yeah. It's good. Got a channel called A Podcast About. There's going to be a few different podcast types. Wrestling, movies. Eventually, going to go into sports. Austin's actually going to jump on the movie show with me. Jordan Owens will be talking wrestling with me. So I'm looking forward to that. Hoping to record those soon. I know the holiday season can be busy, so it's just working around people's schedules and stuff. And Jordan actually, runs wrestling promotions and stuff like that. So, just working around schedules, trying to finalize details. But, A movie that's high on my watch list. Man.
Or the biggest blind spot of the most popular movie, and we're just kind of adding the pressure. Like now, you have to watch it within the next week or two.
Yeah. Well, I mean, since we're in the holiday season, and you know, I've never actually seen it. I voted for it on Tournament Fight just because of you know, based off how much people love it.
Oh no!
It's a Wonderful Life.
Oh, hey, there you go.
I've never seen it. It's actually in my Blu-ray player right now. I was getting ready to watch it, and then I saw that you were doing this. I was like, okay, well, I'll jump on. And
I will second that. Watch that. I promise. And it does live up to the hype. Like it's like there are 3 movies that I'm like, all right, they are like the best movies of all time, and it's Wonderful Life is one of those 3 because it's just, objectively speaking, it's got everything that you need in a film. And you know, I know that sounds like I'm overhyping, but it's like, regardless of, I'm not saying it's gonna be your number 1 of all time, but it's like you're gonna get something out of the movie and you're gonna be happy you watch it, and you know, it's one of those where it's like you're gonna get something out of it by the end of it, and it's gonna be a great movie. So
and make sure you watch the colorized version.
See if it's an option.
Actually, I had a DVD for the longest time where it was a 2 DVD, and one of them was you had the option. I was like, okay, how much is that going to get play? Sure.
There you go. And Malcolm, and anybody who doesn't know you at this point is crazy, but go ahead, promote whatever you want, and then also your one movie that you need to finally watch for the first time.
I mean, you can find me on Take 3 Productions, where I host Vancouver Movie Said Day. We just finished not too long ago doing top 12 Leonardo DiCaprio movies. And the biggest blindfold I still need to watch, which I was actually going to watch at one stage when Henry was doing plans for a different show, which never really happened, was LA Confidential, is one that I still need to get around to watching. Eventually, I'll get around to it. But yeah, it's just one that slipped through my mind.
Well, I don't know if you've heard of my name, but I recommend that one. So, Austin, we'll go ahead and promote your stuff at one movie that you really need to watch for the first time.
Yeah. So I co-host a lot of shows along with Jordan Anderson over on the Movie Hero channel. The best way to find it is to search Tier Ranker Fights or Tournament Fights, and those are the main ones. Yeah. Because if you look up Movie Hero, you just get Jet Li's Movie Hero and a bunch of clips from that movie. So it's not a good way to try to find it. So just look up Tier Ranker Fights. That's probably the best way to find it, and go from there. And as far as movies go, so I've been prepping for. We're doing a Tier Ranker Fights in a couple weeks on 80s comedies, and I've actually got a decent amount of, like, I've seen a lot of them, but I've got a few big ones that I haven't actually ever sat down and watched. I knocked 2 off the last couple of nights, and then I'll get to the one that I'm going to watch that I know you'll be excited for me to talk about, Henry. But I finally watched Fast Times at Ridgemont High, which I had never seen, and had some fun with it. So, well, I mean, I'm familiar with it. I know Spicoli. I know, like, a lot of the scenes, the Phoebe Cates stuff. Like, I'm very familiar with it. I just never sat down and watched it. I was surprised that Jennifer Jason Leigh's like naked. She's like naked that whole movie. That was weird. But yeah. Anyways,
I've seen a movie that you haven't.
Yeah, that's true. You have, Jacob.
The other way
Good
around.
I watched Better Off Dead last night, which I had never seen, with John Cusack. Weird movie, but okay. We'll get in there. And then, but Henry, I know one you're high on that I'm going to get to this week that I've never actually sat down and watched is Dazed and Confused. So I've never actually watched it, and I'm going to see it this week.
That's 93. Yeah. That doesn't count for 80s.
Yeah, it's not.
It's 93.
Dazed and Confused was 90s.
Yeah,
it is.
Oh, well, I'm going to watch it anyways.
There you go. Yeah.
You still should.
Don't worry. I'll edit that part out. You just say you want. No, I'm just kidding. This is a live show. So, but yes.
Why does it feel like 89 or 88 or something? Why does it feel like that?
Just because it's that 70s 80s vibe. You know what I mean? So it's like it just.
Yeah.
But yes. Once again, I definitely recommend that. Sam, go ahead and promote your thing and one movie that you need to really.
Real Genius. I'm gonna watch Real Genius too, which I've never seen.
There you go.
Real Genius is good. I also Better Off Dead, by the way, is actually another one of my Christmas movies. It's like it's not really a Christmas movie, but like there's a Christmas scene.
It's a wintry movie.
It's wintry. Yeah. I like to watch it this time of year. I think that movie's hilarious. My podcast is called Nerd Shit. You can find us on Instagram or Facebook at the Nerd Shit Podcast. But basically, it's not a YouTube thing. It's an actual. So like, if you search anywhere you get your podcast for Nerd Shit, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, it should come up. We're represented by. If you see a poop emoji with glasses and with a little lightsaber, that's us. Yeah, and like I mentioned that we've been rewatching all the Spider-Man movies in preparation for No Way Home. We also just rewatched The Matrix, and that episode hasn't been released yet, but it'll be released this coming week. A retrospective of the original Matrix. So yeah, there's a lot of content. We're approaching 50 episodes, so we've been doing it for a while. What was the other question? Oh, blind spot movies that I haven't seen. Actually, I'm gonna build off of what Malcolm said. Godfather. I haven't actually seen The Godfather yet, so that's one. Yeah,
Okay.
that is actually I haven't seen any of the 3 Godfather movies. I need to watch. And I haven't seen Dazed and Confused either. I was thinking that I need to watch that too. Like, I want to go back and
regardless of whether it's 80s or not, it's a big blind spot for me. I've never actually sat down and watched it. Like, I know it's the all right movie. Like, I know all that, but like, I've never actually sat down and watched it. And it's okay, to tie it into a show we're actually doing that it will be a part of. We're gonna do a tournament fight of a One Crazy Day or Night movie, and I believe it all takes place over one day, right? So One Crazy Day movie. I need to watch it for that anyway. So there you go.
There you go.
Yeah. Well, speaking of movies like dealing with time, like, I mean, the reason I wanted to see Dave, like, I want to go back and watch all the Richard Linklater movies that I haven't seen, because I decided recently that he's creeping up there as I go back and watch his movies. He's creeping up there among my favorite directors. I think the Before trilogy is fucking amazing.
Yep.
I love Boyhood. I think Boyhood is awesome. Like, I really I mean, it's a different movie for him, but School of Rock I think is hilarious. Like,
School of Rock's awesome.
Yeah, stay tuned. You'll definitely hear me talk about School of Rock. And,
so like every movie I've seen of his, I think is just like his only weak movie that I've seen was that Where'd You Go, Bernadette? Like, that was the only movie I saw of his. I was like, that was okay, but all of his other movies I've seen I think are fucking awesome. So I decided I'm gonna go back and watch all the ones I haven't seen, and Dazed and Confused is probably gonna be the first one I start with. So
there you go. And Jacob, we're already at the hour mark, so don't name every movie you've never seen, because we'd be at the 10-hour mark. But what is the number one? Oh, you already went. Damn, it's my turn. So we went on for way too long talking about that stuff. I forgot I started with you.
He's gonna watch It's Wonderful Life. The Colorized It's Wonderful Life.
I know.
Oh no.
That segment went for a long time. It messed up. So the reason I brought up the topic, because me and Austin were talking about earlier, because when we were talking about rank 'em, we were talking about Leo, and my number 2 actor is Brad Pitt. So it's not his most famous movie, but because it's a well-known movie, I've never seen Troy from Brad Pitt, so that is one.
It's my recommendation. I'm telling him he needs to watch it. Like, I personally, just if I could give a quick review, like, watch the extended version, because the theatrical is like 220 or something, but the extended is over 3 hours, which again sounds like a lot, but it expands the story and the characters so much more. Like, there's a lot of really key scenes they cut out, and I just think like Wolfgang Peterson directs the hell out of that movie, and like there's a stacked cast of that movie, and I think it's just one of the more fun and engaging Sword and Sandal movies from like that era. You know, I just think it's really good. Orlando Bloom is a little bitch that you want to see get his head cut off, but he kind of almost does. He doesn't quite, but like he gets his ass kicked, so it's fun. It's like the complete opposite of like of Legolas, so it's pretty awesome. But like Eric Bana's the shit in that movie. Brad Pitt's the shit in that movie. Brian Cox is a great asshole as King Agamemnon. A lot of other like great little character actors things pop up like throughout the movie. Tyler Mane is like one of his big guys. Ajax, like it's just a lot of fun, and it's a great little story. Like, I think you'll dig it. Like, I really dig it.
Like I said, because Brad Pitt's arguably my number 2, I've actually seen more Brad Pitt movies than I've seen Leo movies, but a few more Leo movies are higher up. So it's like I need to see, I need to get the bigger ones out, because maybe I'll have a under the table one, like Troy, that could maybe like bump it up. So
Achilles, man, he's a badass dude. What's he gonna do? Take the entire beach of Troy by himself? Well, yeah, the fuck he is. You can see it.
my favorite scene from Troy is where you can see the airplane in the background of one shot.
For sure.
Hey, sometimes they slip in the cracks.
Shit happens.
Yeah.
That's one of my favorite things when you see any of the movie channels where they have the things, the backgrounds, whether it's background actors or sit like that. So with that said, that's episode 6 of the Confidential Roundtable. Just here to show up, talk about movies, and whatever happens. Sometimes they get a little longer because we know I screw up and I go double around the table and try to have people say the movie they haven't seen yet. Sorry, Jacob. I kind of came at you a little reckless like that. Blame the screwball. Enter Confidential. This is everybody. This was a fun one. We are out.
All right, bye.